All right, I call this meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The next order of business is to elect a chair pro tem. I need a motion.
I'll make a motion. Nomination?
Denny? And the nomination would be?
Mr. Ford?
Mr. Coyne.
Sir, I'm sorry.
Mr. Coyne.
Doesn't drive a Ford. I got fire after only 2 seconds.
Do I have a second on this?
Second.
Oh, yeah. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Okay, congratulations, Mr.
Congratulations.
Reds.
A hard one.
Motion carries.
Yeah, if he decided to oppose, I don't know.
Officiate once again.
Yeah.
Okay, take the roll call, please.
Yes, it will. Mr. Arcuri, Mr. Bova,
Here.
Mr. Brodsky, Mr. Coyne,
Present.
Mr. D'Elia, Mark Ford,
Present.
Mitch Ford,
Here.
Mr. Mahardy, Mr. Matolo, Ms. Cesny, Mr. Williams,
Here.
and Mr. Zweig.
Here.
Okay.
We all have the minutes of the September 21st meeting in front of us and probably have read them. Do we have a motion to accept?
I'll make a motion.
Penny, seconded by Mark. All in favor?
Aye.
Any refraining from voting? Disapproving? All right, minutes are passed. Next item is the decision regarding the establishment of water rates, and who is going to present that resolution?
I'll give a brief overview, and if there's any questions, either me or Jim. Where's Jim? Oh, there he is. Hopefully you've all seen the resolution that was sent in advance and had a chance to look at it. And as you will recall from our budget workshops, what has been proposed and presumably or seemingly agreed upon was a 2% rate increase, which for our average customer residential unit would be a little over $7 a year, which is roughly equating to about 60 cents a month or so of an increase. And I think we all agree no one likes to raise rates, but it's necessary to keep the system running and continue the reinvestment. If there are any specific questions, we will take them at this time. And if I can't handle it, I'm sure Jim can.
Go ahead, Denny.
Yeah, I got a question before we...
Sure.
Actually, it's for Dick. On the New York Mills job, that small job we did over there, replace that galvanized pipe.
Oh, the services for
Yeah.
the 4 or 5 homes.
Now, how much did that job cost us for a contractor? Do you have any idea?
It was approximately maybe between 30, 40,000, but it also included, we had 4 instances where service pipes had been driven through sewers, and we had the contractor do that work as well because we don't like to work in active sewers because of all the potential contamination issues. Yeah, there was quite a bit of, now on that job, we're also doing all the pavement restoration ourselves. So that wasn't included there, but in that range, 30, 35,000 for, I think, 5 services in the 4 locations with the sanitary sewer repair. But it's finished, so we have the exact numbers.
The only reason I bring it up is because a number of years ago, we put on another crew, remember, the 5th crew. The lane main, we bought the track hole, bigger trucks, loaders, all kinds of things. So I really don't see any reason for us to go outside to do these small jobs like that, or even to the bigger valves we're going to install. These guys are capable of doing that. If they need hydrostop can come in and stop it, the water. I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with that.
Which is what we're doing right now on
Yeah.
the transmission work.
Right.
Yeah, but we are also installing the InstaValves ourselves. We had a training session last week, we did 2. So that's a new technology where we are putting the valves in. This New York Mills project was also on private property. We were actually working off the right-of-way, so that's one of the other reasons we had contractors for the insurance
Because I
and
know
liability requirements of working on private property.
all these big valves are going to be inserting I mean, if they need hydro stop, fine, but otherwise I think we should be doing them ourselves instead of paying a contractor to do them.
Although we are intending to do
Costs are
those.
reflected in
Yeah.
the budget.
Yep.
Yep.
You know, I'm just saying for
Sure.
forthcoming budgets,
We do as much in-house as we can,
Yeah.
and we hire out when there's some extenuating circumstance that makes more sense than putting our guys in that situation.
Yep.
But as Dick just said, the larger valves we will be doing ourselves.
loosely.
Nice. Any other questions?
Okay. So has someone moved the resolution?
I'll make the motion.
Seconded?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Refraining? The motion's adopted. Next, we have the approval of the 2016 calendar year proposed budget. And we've all worked on the budget in the past, and I don't know if anybody wants to comment on it. Jim, do you want to make a comment on it at all?
No, other than I did present you the most recent draft. I think that was the final adjustment, shows the 2% increase in rates, so it shows the dollars that are associated with that and the expenses. So you have on the front the proposed budget compared to not only the budget, the current year's budget, but the projected actual, and then you have detail behind it. So it's a lot of information that you looked at over the last two budget workshops.
Does someone wish to make pass the resolution? Accept, state the resolution?
Motion?
Move it.
No motion?
Anyone want to move the budget resolution?
I'll make the motion.
Seconded by? Seconded by Scott? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody against it? Okay, so we've accepted the resolution for the calendar proposed budget, and the next item is a selection and award of auditor. The audit committee did meet. Rocco, myself, and Bruce are members of the committee. We did meet. We did select an auditor. We worked with the staff. The staff made a recommendation, and I'll let Jim
Sure.
just.
I believe that is on, it's either in your binder or on the top of your binder, is the staff got together and did an evaluation. So just wanted to give that to you guys, take a look at. We went through all the proposals that we received. We actually sent an RFP out and received these 6 proposals. We graded them for content, for professionalism, the ability to do the audit, their past experience, their approach, their experience, as I mentioned, and their price. And so we graded all of those, and we selected Sachs BST as the firm to do the next 3-year audit. They're out of Albany.
And for those of you that might be wondering, the audit committee is the only committee that's actually empowered under our bylaws to grant this award without it going to the full board.
Right, and actually, you're right, it's the control of the auditor. Okay, thanks, Jim. Any questions or comments on it?
And by the way, they were chosen because they have extensive experience with public authorities and seem to have the right combination of experience for our structure and how we function.
Right. Committee reports, I see Finance Committee has a report to make. Is that correct?
Correct, yes. Also in your binder this time is the September 30th report. We are 9 months through the year. We are above budget as far as revenues. Cash collections, we're a little ahead. We're anticipating our December retirement payment, so we want to build that cash a little. And unfortunately, consumption is down a little for the year. I believe we're close to 3.5–4 million cubic feet below. But we seem to be still hitting our revenue marks and hitting our collection marks. So we're in good shape going into the last quarter of the year.
Any questions or comments? Thank you, Jim.
And for those of you that are not familiar with cubic feet, the 3.5 million cubic feet that our controller, Jim Corpato, said year to year we're behind on is right around 26 million gallons. less this year,
Yeah.
over the course of the year.
A little less than 1% of our total, so billion sounds like a lot, but
That's
it's,
very useful for
well, it's not.
Mostly, oh, you were in the hallway, I went through that downstairs, but a lot of it has to do with residential users and people replacing appliances with water saver devices. Years ago, we used to consider an average household between 80 and 88,000 gallons per year of usage. That number now, over the years, has dwindled down to between 52 and 54,000 gallons a year. So we went from 80,000 to 50,000 roughly. And a lot of that is really just, more efficient dishwashers and washing machines and low-flow toilets and all that kind of stuff.
Any other comments or questions? All right, Pat, I think you're.
Yep, the only item I have at this point that is really top of the list is just an update on the bonding process. As you know, this board approved a request to the Water Finance Authority to borrow in advance. We did that because we initiated directly through the Water Finance Authority an opportunity to refinance earlier bonds that I described downstairs. And what came to make sense was that we were already on schedule to borrow early next spring for the next 2 years of construction seasons. And had we not been doing this refinancing, we would have borrowed next spring and it would have been a smaller number, between $4 and $5 million. But because we had this eligible amount for refunding that made sense, we decided that it was more economical not to duplicate the closing costs of borrowing twice in a 4 or 5 month period. So we borrowed the construction money for the next 2 years early and built it into this bond series. And we weighed the cost of holding that money a little bit longer, what the extra interest would be versus duplicating the issuance costs. And by far, it made more financial sense to borrow the money now. So that's when this board passed a request to the Finance Authority to borrow, quote, new money for new construction projects. The only thing that has changed, I'll tell you at this point, was that initially we were looking at, we thought more eligible bonds to be refinanced from our 2006 series. And upon further explanation, we found that some of those had not hit the callable date yet and were not eligible for refunding until after January. We then looked at a scenario in which we perhaps could delay the closing on certain bond series until January when they became eligible, but when our underwriters priced that out in the market, it looked like it was going to add about $250,000 of expense for people to wait 90 days to close. And so those bonds have just been caught out at this point. So the bond issue got a little bit smaller. The refinancing amount now is right around $19 million. So it's going to be slightly over $23 million plus closing costs. And so we're on track. We met last week on the phone. Jim and Scott and I and all of our consultants had conference calls with both Standard & Poor's last Monday and Moody's on Tuesday. We received the ratings from both of them on Friday, and there's been no change in the bond rating. We're hoping to get an upgrade based on all the good news that we're seeing with the Nano Center, but these rating agencies tend to be a bit more conservative, and they essentially would rather wait until our chickens hatch before we start counting them all. So if we borrow in the next 2 to 3 years on a regular schedule, hopefully by then this will have materialized and will be showing some vastly improved financial outlooks and get a bond rating. So for now, we're staying where we are with a stable outlook, and on the Standard & Poor's scale, we're rated at A+. On the Moody's scale, we're rated at A1, which is where we were. So we're in good shape. Based on that, with a good underlying rating, the only open question now is whether or not to buy bond insurance, which as an insured bond, it goes out AAA, and sometimes you tend to get slightly lower interest rates. I know, did you happen to see the email that came in earlier from Panita about the insurance? Okay, she sent one out. I hadn't had time before the hearing to look at it, but they may be insured, they may not. But the good news is we have a strong underlying rating, and we're assured of getting pretty low interest costs. And so everything we've done here for financial management and reinvesting in the system is reflects well with the rating agencies. Both agencies said that we're following sound management practices, and as such, our reward, if you will, is that our cost of borrowing is lower than it otherwise could be for somebody else that has a lower bond rating. So we're on good track. The pricing will occur later this week. We may be able to close on the bonds as early as Friday. More than likely, though, it'll be early next week, Monday or Tuesday, and then we'll have all the documents signed and everything will be in place. And,
Pat, I was gonna mention,
Yeah.
if anyone wants to see those write-ups, I should have brought them here.
Oh, we'll distribute them.
Yeah, we'll get them to
The
you.
rating reports.
It's interesting to read what they talk about in there.
Who actually makes the closing on the bonds? The finance authority or?
The Finance Authority,
Yeah.
yeah. They've met several times in this process and have now pre-approved their chair, Vin Gilroy, to sign everything at the closing. And so we'll get a big FedEx package of documents that we lay out on the table here. It's kind of a factory-type system or a conveyor belt. Vin will sign it. I sign some of those as the secretary to the Water Finance Authority. Vin signs them all, and then the actual bonds have to be signed. And then we send it all back. And it's,
Very good.
we used to have to go to New York to do all that. Now we just do it either by scanning and emailing or by hard copy through the mail. The last thing I should mention too, and I apologize, I was remiss. I probably should have said before you voted on the rates that we did receive a letter from our rate consultant certifying that in fact 2% works. I should tell you that ahead of time so you know that it's got his blessing before you vote on it. Had he not certified it, I definitely would have told you that before you voted on it. But I do want to say that the letter we received from our rate consultant, Ed Marcus at M. Watt Consulting, Ed's been our rate consultant really since our inception. He did have some concerns he expressed. It was a little bit of a longer letter than we typically get. We will distribute that letter to you as well. And his concern is that we are, by coming in, with some fairly thin margins now, our debt coverage ratio, which is a calculation they do of our net operating income versus the ratio against our debt payments, our coverage ratio is in risk of slipping a little bit. That is probably the leading factor that the rating agencies look at. And he's got some advice on that, which I think we would like to discuss with the board at a later date, but we'll certainly get his letter out to you right away. We'll probably email it out tomorrow, and you can take a look at it. And Jen actually suggested to me earlier this afternoon that we may want to even invite Ed and his assistant to come up at some point, maybe after the new year, February or March, and just kind of meet with the board and talk about our financial strategies moving forward. Just to hear his input a little bit more detail.
I think that'd be a good idea, because I don't think we've seen Ed Marcus up here in quite a few years.
Yeah, he's been in and out on occasion, but not for the occasion of board meetings. And Jen and I see him in between at various conferences and such. But we thought it might be nice to have him come up and he could just kind of sit with the board and walk you through his thinking at least, so you're a little more exposed to his concerns and strategies moving forward with the rating agencies. So, unless anybody has any additional questions for me, I'll stop there. Is my phone buzzing? Somebody's trying to call me.
Any old business? Any new business? Motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Thank you very much. Appreciate everybody getting here.